Hello everyone and welcome back to Scandinavian Design 101. I'm Sanna.
I'm Andreas and we're two Swedes and we love design.
Yeah, and as you may or may not know, the largest Swedish auction houses have their quality auctions 2 times a year, in spring and in autumn. This spring auctions have just ended and of course we have checked them out to keep updated on the latest knockdown prices.
And in this video, we're going to show you some of the items that stood out to us and some that did not really. There were obviously a lot of different objects and artworks sold, but we will only talk about furniture and lighting. The 2 auction houses we have taken a closer look at are Bukowskis and Stockholms Auktionsverk. And it's interesting to note that this is supposed to be their quality auctions with fine art objects. And most of their objects are otherwise sold online year-round. And we really expect a significant difference between their ordinary auctions and their quality ones. Yeah. Bukowskis really had a lot of interesting objects worth taking a closer look at. Sadly, the same thing can't be said about Stockholms Auktionsverk. They featured, as always, expensive furniture by Josef Frank and Axel-Einar Hjorth, but otherwise the catalogue was mostly filled with objects more suitable for their regular online auctions.
Yeah.
And does this mean that Sweden is running out of high-end one-of-a-kind objects?
Probably.
Yeah, perhaps, really.
They're all sold.
Yeah, foreign customers.
Yeah. We will mention a lot of prices in this episode. You should know that we have converted these from Swedish kronor to US dollars. Yeah. And the sums were rounded off to make them easier to keep track of and to say.
Yeah.
With that said, let's get started, and we will start with Bukowskis.
Yeah, and as always, there were a huge lot of objects by Axel-Einar Hjorth, and his furniture has for many years dominated the fine art auctions in Sweden, and frankly, we are tired of seeing his peasant-inspired pinewood furniture. But this year, Bukowskis offered some really interesting neoclassical pieces by Hjorth, and here's 3 great examples of this.
Yeah. The first one is a chest of drawers called Library by Nordiska Kompaniet, made from jaspis.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that is.
No.
Jaspis.
We can write here what it is.
And rosewood with brass drop handles.
Yeah.
This model was included in the November show at Nordiska Kompaniet in 1928. It was estimated at 15 to 20,000 US dollars, and it was unsold.
Yeah. And then we have a Makassar ebony chest of drawers. It had borders with relief decoration, 4 drawers with silver-plated handles, and it was, of course, designed for Nordiska Kompaniet also, and it was designed in 1928, and this one was exhibited at the World's Fair in Barcelona in 1929. Yeah. And it was estimated at between 20 to 25,000 US dollars, and this was sold for $32,000.
Yeah. And third was an ebony and walnut tabouret produced by Nordiska Kompaniet as well in 1928 for the 1929 World's Fair in Barcelona.
Yeah.
The seat is upholstered with grey velvet, and the tabouret is said to be one of a pair ordered and executed for the Barcelona exhibition.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, so they estimated it at between 25 and 30,000 US dollars, and it was also unsold.
Yeah.
And personally, we prefer Hjorth's neoclassical pieces above these boring pinewood sportstugemöbler. Yeah. But most buyers doesn't seem to agree with us. To me, it's unbelievable that this beautiful tabouret was unsold when the standard Ute coffee table was sold for 30,000 on the same auction. Yeah. 25,000 is obviously a lot of money, but it's still cheap for such an important piece of Swedish furniture.
Yeah, definitely.
History.
Yeah. And garden furniture are rarely seen on fine art auctions, but there are some exceptions. Like these beautiful table and 2 matching chairs designed by Carl Hörvik in the late 20s. The tabletop was made from slate and base with white painted iron. This group was estimated at $7,000 to $8,000, and it was sold for $10,500. And this set of garden furniture is really interesting, because in the late 20s, modernism started replacing neoclassicism in Sweden, and this can be seen here. The silhouette is clean and simple, like modernism, but some geometrical Art Deco shapes can still be spotted, especially in the legs and so on, yeah? And I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, me too. That's why it's here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we've just scrolled
right
past it, yeah. And now 3 pieces of furniture by the Swedish-American architect Greta Magnusson Grossman. All 3 were made for her own studio in Stockholm well before she moved to the US in 1940. First is a Zebrano veneered sideboard made around 1935. It's rectangular with rounded ends, and the interior has revolving shelves, which is cool.
Yeah, it's a cool thing.
The estimate was $5,000 to $7,500 and it was sold for $9,000.
Yeah, and then we have an organic-looking sofa made in the 1930s. Upholstered in a blue turquoise velvet with the buttons, and the feet was made from mahogany. And the estimate here was between $4,000 and $5,000, and it was sold for $6,500 US.
And last, round coffee table, also made in the 30s. The base is in elm and it has a circular glass tabletop. Estimate between $1,200 and $1,500, and was sold for $2,200.
Yeah, and furniture by Grossman is rarely sold at auction in Sweden, not least because she moved to the US early in her career and designed most of her furniture for American manufacturers.
Yeah.
The pieces she designed for her own studio in Stockholm were made in small numbers, and most of them are today kind of difficult to identify. That's why we're glad to see 3 of her pieces sold at the same auction here. Yeah.
And it's kind of cheap.
Yeah, it is really cheap compared with a lot of crap sold at.
But they weren't very funny, were they?
Some of them were, some of them weren't.
Next is a Swedish modern sideboard / room divider made in the 30s or 40s, veneered in elm, 3 cabinet doors, glass decorated with etched details. And I thought this was beautiful. That's why I wanted it to be on this episode. Yeah. And it was estimated between $1,800 and $2,000, and it was also unsold. And I think it's weird because I really love it, and the etched glass screen and the rounded shapes, and I can't understand why it wasn't sold. Actually, $1,800 isn't that much money.
No, it isn't. But I think it's a bit difficult to place in a home.
I don't think so.
If you don't have really a great imagination, you just want like a
if
TV
you're a
bench.
Boring, basic person, yes.
Moving on. Last year, a cabinet by the Austrian-Swedish designer Josef Frank was sold by Bukowski's for the impressive sum of $265,000. At the time, this was the most expensive piece of Swedish design ever sold at auction. Surprisingly, an almost identical cabinet was yet again offered for sale by Bukowski's. An unknown number of these cabinets were produced by Firma Svenskt Tenn between 1937 and 43. And it's covered with an old city plan of Paris. And this cabinet, and the actual cabinet, was made from oak. And the estimate this time was between $100,000 and $150,000, and it was sold for $295,000.
So why did they estimate it so low?
Yeah, that's strange because, but perhaps they didn't really dare to put such a high estimate because it had just been sold once before. And interestingly, yet another of these cabinets were sold almost simultaneously by the Swedish auction house Uppsala Auktionskammare. And their cabinet sold for $500 less than the one at Bukowski's. So the record is now held by Bukowski's. Yeah.
Moving on to a ceiling lamp designed in the 40s by Harald Notini for Arvid Böllmark's lampvarufabrik. Made from brass with the 3 shades in etched glass with upper shades in lacquered metal. Estimate between $2,000 and $2,500, and it was sold for $4,400. And this lamp looks more Italian than Swedish, and the pink upper shades are really wonderful, actually. And I would say it was a bargain.
Yeah. It was Carl-Axel Acking who designed this rare lamp. It's called 2645, just the model number. And it was produced in the 40s or 50s by Bröderna Malmströms metallvarufabrik. And the base was made from brass, and the stem was covered. Oh, and the stem was covered with leather, and it had 3 perforated brass shades. And the estimate here was between $10,000 and $15,000, and it was actually sold for $35,000.
Yeah.
And these lamps by Acking are rarely seen and always expensive. And the pendant version is somewhat more often sold, but it's still a rare find. And I would really love to own one. I love them, but it's a bit too expensive, I think.
It's a bit much.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at 2 lamps by the Swedish designer and industrialist Hans Baristram, founder and former owner of the lighting company Atelier Lyktan. In recent years, lamps by Baristram have skyrocketed in price, and some are sold for huge sums of money. And this one right here is a large ceiling lamp produced by Atelier Lyktan in the 40s or 50s. And it's a glass shade shaped like a cloud decorated with 3 brass birds. It's super cute. The estimate was $4,000 to $5,000, and it was sold for $12,500. And it is, as you can see, super, super cute.
Yeah.
I really love that one.
It's really nice. And then we have a rare and monumental ceiling lamp, also by Atelier Lyktan. It was made in the 40s or 50s also. And it was made from brass, and it had 20 shades in white glass. And it's really huge. Estimate was between $10,000 and $15,000, and it was sold for $24,000. And these 2 lamps are really interesting and amazing in their own way. The cloud-shaped lamp is, it's really nice and cute looking, and I would say it's one of Bergström's best designs ever. Yeah. And the Monumental lamp, on the other hand, is amazing because of its size. If you have a lamp like this in your dining room, you have one of the greatest conversation pieces ever.
Yeah.
And now let's take a look at a chair actually produced by IKEA, one of the very few IKEA pieces suitable for quality auctions. The Cavelli, designed by Bengt Ruda in 1958 and only featured in the IKEA catalogue in 1959. According to IKEA, only 5 of these were ever made, but I'm not so sure about that. A few more were probably produced, but they are definitely the most sought after IKEA piece among collectors. And the base was made in teak-stained beech, so it's not even teak, it's like me, and upholstered in yellow original fabric here. An estimate was $7,500 to $10,000. And this time, this chair was sold for $15,500. And last year, another Cavelli was sold by a small auction house in the town of Sundsvall for $15,000. And at the time, that was the most expensive IKEA piece ever sold at auction.
So now it's this one.
Yeah, Bukowski's got a couple of $100 more for their share. 500.
And now 2 amazing easy chairs by Finn Juhl, executed by the Danish manufacturer Søren Villadsen around 1950. It's the original upholstery in a 2-tone fabric, mottled brown and grey. They are estimated between $20,000 and $8,000 and sold for $78,000.
Yeah.
Original upholstered furniture by Finn Juhl are rarely seen. They are sadly often reupholstered in some hideous sheepskin or ugly textile. That's why these two chairs are absolutely special and magnificent. The upholstery is worn, but let's pray they won't reupholster, but they will.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, moving on.
And now Ib Kofod-Larsen, who designed these two pairs of leather Sälen easy chairs produced by Olof Persson's fåtöljindustri, OPE, in Sweden in the 50s or 60s. And the estimate for the black pair was between $6,000 and $8,000, and they were sold for $6,000. And the cognac-colored pair was estimated between $7,500 and $10,000, and that pair was actually sold for $17,500. Yeah. And it's interesting to compare these two lots. The price differ a lot here, over $10,000, and we can only guess why, of course. The brown chairs were in somewhat better condition, but that can hardly explain such a difference. Our best guess is the wonderful patina on the cognac leather.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Now we will show you some pieces sold by Stockholms Auktionsverk. Sadly, we could only find 3 of them interesting enough to show you.
Yeah.
The first one is the folding screen rörligt objekt, movable object by Mats Tiselius, made from aluminum, produced by Källemo in 1999 actually. It was estimated to $3,000 to $4,000 and sold for $10,000. And this screen is kind of typical for the Swedish designer Mats Tiselius. It's simple, rough, and as much of a sculpture as it is a piece of furniture actually.
Yeah. And then we have the cast iron tabouret number 1, designed by Folke Bensow in the 1920s for Näfveqvarns bruk. And the model was exhibited at the 1925 Paris World's Fair. And it was estimated between $15,000 and $17,500, and it was sold for $19,000. And it's a great example of Swedish 1920s neoclassicism, an impressive period in Swedish design history, often called the Swedish Grace. Yeah. We have spoken about that in previous videos. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
And lastly, Josef Frank coffee table for Firma Svenskt Tenn. It has a round tabletop decorated with a replica of a 15th century map of the world, which is cool.
Yeah.
It was produced in the 60s or 70s. And it was estimated between $5,000 and $7,000 and sold for $12,000. And a lot of different pieces by Frank were sold at the auction, like all of the auctions.
Yeah.
And most of the models are often seen, and even though they're nice looking, we're kind of tired. Not just kind of. We are tired of them.
Yeah.
But this table is really amazing, and I love the rustic looking tabletop combined with the simple wooden base.
Yeah, it is really nice.
Pretty.
And this was some items we found worth mentioning, either because they're good or because we don't want to see them. And if you found this video interesting,
please click thumbs up and subscribe.
And follow us on Instagram. We're called Scandinavian Design 101.
Yes, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.